The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Welcome to the Forever Fab podcast, the podcast dedicated to fashion, the art of living well, and all things beauty. I'm your host, Dr. Shirley Madhere, your purveyor of this definitive source of living a beautiful life. And this week's episode, we have the perfect person to talk about the dedication of this week, which is to manifesting your greatness. The topic is branding you, why self-love is key for self-promotion. Welcome to my interview with Ms. Umindi Francis. With over 15 years of experience in strategic marketing and communication, Umindi Francis has managed brands of various sizes in many areas, including fashion, luxury, art and design, beauty, hospitality, technology, and the lifestyle genres. She's held positions at Louis Vuitton and Bottega Veneta, two of my favorites. She also has held positions as director and global vice president at top international public relations firms. Over the years, she has consulted for brands such as the New York Times, Fendi, Celine, Pucci, Gianvito Rossi, MoMA, Centre Pompidou in France, Rob Report magazine, Interscope Records, Bumble, Armarium, Moet Chandon, and so many more. Umindi is recognized as a leader in public relations and strategic marketing and has been featured in quite enviable press, if I may say so myself, such as Time Magazine, New York Magazine, Oprah, Harper's Bazaar, Essence, Marie Claire, and Vogue.com. Umindi is a force. She is dynamic. She is intelligent. And she's here with us today. Thank you so very much, Umindi, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Madhere.
Welcome.
Such a pleasure to be sitting with you.
Call me Dr. Madhere. Girl, we're friends.
Okay, Shirley.
This is podcasting, Dr. Shirley. So, Umindi, you are from Trinidad. Is that correct?
Yes. That's where I was born, but I grew up in New York.
Okay. So tell me about your journey from there to here and where you are right now.
Yeah, well, my journey from Trinidad to the U.S. wasn't elaborate because I came here as a little girl.
Yes.
So I'm pretty much a New Yorker.
That's right.
I came here when I was about 1 year old.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But growing up in a Caribbean home, I'm definitely Caribbean.
Yeah, I know about that.
You know, my Caribbean mother would never let me forget that. And it was just inherent to my upbringing, and I would never have it any other way. It's
good.
So wonderful the way, just being around my mom, my aunts, uncles, my grandparents.
The values.
And being brought to Trinidad as a child on family vacations and things of that nature, being immersed in the culture is absolutely fantastic. We have the best carnival in the world. I won't say arguably, period. Some of the things that we're known for, Calypso, Miss World, Miss Universe. Yes. On and on and on.
Yes. And I think that, if I may say so myself, and you can correct me, but those values that you were taught as a Caribbean American woman stay with you today and probably help you in your career.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm definitely where I am today because of the values that my family instilled in me. My mom was very ambitious and really, I have to say, dedicated her life to my success via her personal and professional example, and just not allowing me to take no for an answer or not reach for the stars.
Yeah.
And when you make your children to believe that they can be and do anything, the world is truly their oyster. And that's a gift that I'm tremendously grateful for.
And I am grateful also, knowing what you do and how you do it. So speaking of your career and how you've gotten here, how and when did your career begin in fashion and beauty and PR?
Well, that's quite interesting. I had been in the sciences, my entire life. I had a microscope
You
at
defected?
7. I defected.
Okay.
My father, his brothers, they're pretty much all in the sciences. My father was a meteorologist.
Okay.
That's
cool.
And yeah. And so I wanted to be a surgeon or a surgeon or study oncology or something of this nature. But I had been immersed in that my entire life and just had an itch to do something a bit different, something creative. And so I actually went into investment banking right out of school.
Wow,
Despite studying, my degree was in neurobehavioral psychology. I had a minor in business administration and marketing, and thought that it was, a good career and profession for a young Caribbean woman to, make your parents proud.
Get in folks' minds.
Investment banking, and I tried that for a couple of years, and then I asked my mom, do you mind if I want to make a career change? Because you're still depending on your parents,
of course.
and you want their approval. And she's like, do whatever you want to do. And so I actually, after being encouraged by mentors, I interned at Elle Magazine.
Okay.
And at a brand, Nicole Miller.
Yes.
And after that internship at Nicole Miller and Elle Magazine, I was offered a position as PR director. Of course you were. Because in my extra spare time, I had a marketing company with my best friend
that's a little
in
side
college. And after, testing the waters and seeing, I realized that was actually something that brought me a lot of joy. Yes. And so I explored that area. And it wasn't easy starting off after working in investment banking, being successful at the top of my class, in that regard, starting all over again. The questions from your friends that are coming up in the world and family, what are you doing? Yeah. But I had a lot of support, and my mother said, listen, you do whatever you want.
Wonderful.
And I'm happy to have had the privilege to have that opportunity to do so, and was offered that position early on. And so right out the gate, I was able to, as PR director of Nicole Miller, this brand on 7th Avenue, I was able to, manage public relations and marketing events and celebrity dressing and the fashion shows and things of that nature. Right. And after spending time there, moved on to Louis Vuitton and then Bottega Veneta and then consulting and then starting my own consulting firm.
Unbelievable.
So that's a short version.
I know, and believe me, there's definitely more. So I know you work with influencers. Who influenced you to engage in fashion and beauty?
That's a very interesting question because I didn't, coming from a background where obviously I thought of these prudent professions, these solid professions. You get a degree and move forward.
Yes.
You know what it means to be a doctor.
Yes.
You know what it means to be an investment banker.
Yes.
This is something unheard of, something I didn't see, something that I didn't know about or imagine.
And no one in your family was in fashion and beauty, so you didn't have that model.
Yes, this is where the retrospect comes in retrospect. But in the communication space, I know I had a friend that worked in public relations and music, and I thought it was interesting, and I was trying to figure something else out besides investment banking, and I discovered fashion public relations, and I said, wow, this is really a lot more, that you do a lot more at these fashion companies than one would imagine.
Yes.
It's communications. You're you're buying advertising. Yes. If depending on how the department is structured, you're buying advertising, you're planning special events.
Yes.
You're working with philanthropic endeavors.
Yes.
Art and design.
Yes.
Fashion shows. It's all encompassing. Because fashion is aspirational. So when a fashion company is looking for someone to run this division, there's a lot that you can do that I didn't know. So I got lucky in that regard. But my Aunt Deborah,
Yes.
she went to FIT
Oh,
and
okay.
has been in the fashion business for 35 years. She's worked with a number of wonderful companies. My other aunt, who's like my mom, she went to FIT.
Okay.
So it was what was around me, and my
Yes.
mom's sisters were very fashionable.
Oh, I love that.
The epitome of quintessential chic
Yeah.
New Yorkers.
Yes.
I saw it all growing
Yes.
up. Elaborate afros
Yes.
and elaborate platform heels,
Right, the
and then
accessories and
grew up watching Dynasty or reruns of
gloves
Diane
and those
Karen,
hats.
everything. So it was something that I was around, and
Okay.
in retrospect, no wonder I gravitated to it.
Got it.
Was
That's
Yeah.
That's one. So it was around you.
it was around.
Okay, and you may not have really noticed it, but it was there, sort of.
Yeah. It was
Sending you vibes.
Sending me vibes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, there have been some significant changes in the past years in PR and marketing, as obviously you
for
well
sure.
know. Everyone sort of does their own publicity. How does one maintain integrity and credibility in this space now?
That's a multifaceted question.
Yeah.
It really is, because there's so many layers to it. I have been able to, I've actually read on the beach, I think in the last year or so, a book by a young woman called Influencer, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I thought it was an interesting read. It was an enjoyable read.
Okay.
On the beach, despite it being a business book. But it was
Yes.
interesting because there's different levels of influencers. And I
Yes.
think that the advent of social media has allowed folks to really understand the term influencer in some
Right.
regard.
Yes.
There are individuals like yourself and myself
Yes.
who have professions.
Yes.
And we are influential for that
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
And as such, you can build a brand around that.
Right.
I have garnered an impressive amount of recognition in the media.
Yes, you have.
For myself, professionally.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never solicited anything ever.
Good
So
for
this
you.
is all because of where I sit in the world.
Yeah, and your
which
work
makes sense.
and your
I work
contribution.
with, in communication. So I have relationships with media journalists. Of course, they're like, oh, interesting what you do. Let's talk about it, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's one side of influence. And there are individuals who are tremendously accomplished and talented, such as yourself.
Thank you.
And my firm, were able to pull these relationships towards individuals like you to amplify your stories, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there's other individuals, which I think are so wonderful, who, many young people sometimes that don't have a career.
Yes.
They don't know what to do.
Yes.
They want to find their place in the world, and they create a brand for themselves. And that's a different animal.
Right.
So there's two sides of the coin.
Right.
Individuals who are professionals that have an opportunity to build a brand that will allow them to greater amplify
Their expertise.
yeah,
understood.
their way of thinking.
Yes.
And then there's other individuals who can create an opportunity to build a community.
Yeah,
Maybe
I like that.
the interest is in, maybe your interest may be in motorsports.
Yeah.
Maybe your interest is travel.
Yeah.
Maybe your interest is business.
Yeah.
Maybe your interest is, in makeup. Whatever your interest is, there's an opportunity for you to build a community. And that's one thing I love about branding in this time.
Yeah.
It's really so lovely to see. And it's typically young people because they function very well in this space.
Yes.
And they're, they've sat down, they're out of school, they're trying to figure it out. It's hard to find a job.
Yes, it is.
For some, for many, figure out your path. And it takes
Right.
years to get someplace. And you stumble upon the fact that maybe I'm funny. My friends laugh at my jokes.
Yes.
I'm gonna go online and be a comedian.
Yeah.
And it's very it's painful because you're opening yourself. It's painful for everyone.
Yeah, but liberating, I think, at the same
liberating
time.
is the word I'm looking
Right?
for. But liberating.
Yeah.
So the question was
The question was, how is it that you maintain integrity and credibility in this space? Meaning, staying true to yourself, staying true to your message, and not getting too hyped up on what is the brand. How do you tell what's real?
You sit down and you write on a piece of paper, who am I?
Yeah.
You write down who you are.
Yeah.
And write down what you want to be. And ask yourself, as you look at this list on the left side and the right side of the paper, integrity's in the middle. Yeah. Where is the integrity? Yeah. Authenticity is always going to be red. Yeah. People follow authenticity. Yeah. So no matter what you do and who you are, whether you are a professional and you want to amplify your brand message, or you don't have a profession but you have a talent or a passion and you build a community from there, it's the authenticity that is going to keep you going.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned relationships, and you've obviously, throughout your years of entrepreneurship and communications, PR, and strategy, you have garnered a lot of and nurtured a lot of relationships, and it seems like it's obviously essential to your success. So how do you leverage who you know to get done what you need to do, either for yourself or a client?
The fortunate thing about my career is that that was essentially my job. So I had the opportunity to work at companies and be led by individuals who showed me how to do it. Yes. Because that was my position. Yeah. The beautiful thing is once I learned that, I saw that there was an opportunity to translate that into many different ways. Yeah. So I think that it's question again.
How do you leverage your relationships, right, to achieve what it is that you do?
Well, that again, it's what I'm supposed to do professionally. Yeah. So,
and you thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, I've seen you in action. You are so real with the people that you know and love.
I think what I enjoy about running my own consulting firm is I'm not put into a box. Right. I am a multifaceted individual with many interests. As you can see, art and design, fashion, things that are aspirational, travel, technology. Yes. There are so many things that interest me. And so when oftentimes there's a brand that will come to me and I will say, well, I don't know that this is something that I can execute for you. And they're like, oh, yes, but I believe so because I know they'll list the reasons. And I said, and we'll find success. Okay. So that's how I'm able to leverage. There's an underlying thread across all the brands that I develop and consult for. There's something inherently that we are able to tie together in order to amplify their message.
And some of those clients are designers. Yes. So you've met and interviewed many designers. Now, do you think there are any attributes that you find that are common among all of them, or what attributes distinguishes one from the other, or maybe sets up one more for success than the other, if there is such a thing?
It can't be 100% across the board. Right. But it is the oddest thing. Every single designer I've worked with has never had a deep desire to be a celebrity.
Interesting.
Or step into the forefront.
So they like behind the scenes.
That's what they say, but it is a requirement of the job for them to be put forward. Yeah. And I don't know if there's a correlation between me or they find me for that reason. See. Yeah. But every single brand I've worked with, they're like, I'm not interested in being famous. I just want to build a successful business and company, and we do that. But part of building your brand is being on Front Street a bit. Yeah. And there are many introverts that I've worked with, and it's something that I have to hold their hands through, which is lovely because I get to tell you, you can stay inside. This is when you need to come out.
Now, after 15 years in fashion and PR communications, what motivated you to become a founder and to actually start your own company? You've had such tremendous experiences and mentors and relationships. And then at one point you said, okay, that's great, but what was your but?
It was very organic. I never planned at the point when I started my firm. It wasn't a plan. I took a hiatus, was traveling, and the phone started ringing. Wow. And fantastic and interesting people began to call me and ask that I work with them. And I said, this is not something I'm ready to do. Right. And that's why your network is so powerful. I have great friends and colleagues, and they said, oh my goodness, of course, this is something you should do. And I'd been encouraged that entire year that I started. 2020 will be 10 years.
Oh my God. Are you having a party?
Of course.
Okay, right.
Because I didn't think of it, but since you say so, obviously.
2020, the Big 10.
2020, the Big 10.
Let's do the math. Party required.
Party required. Party required. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Noted.
Yeah, right.
Added to the to-do list.
Okay.
Yeah, they encouraged me to, they're like, oh, do this, go ahead and do it. If you don't like it, just work for some corporation once again. And I so enjoyed working with these founders that had come to me to help them realize their dreams. And there were no limitations, because when you work for a corporate company, there are restrictions as to how much you can give and how much you can do.
That's right.
And I saw there was an opportunity niche in the market to do more than, public relations and communications, but business development.
Yes,
and that's how I developed a brand development firm, because once you get to the executive level, I'm sitting in a conference room and we are making projections for 5 years out strategy. I have a background in investment banking. I am able to connect individuals. Many of these businesses need capital.
Of course.
And I have those relationships. Wonderful. So the best way to encompass all of those things was really to establish a brand development firm by which I'm able to, tweak someone's business model so that they can accelerate their success.
That's why your Instagram account is Umindi 360, because you do it full circle, girl. I just got that.
Exactly.
Umindi 360. I got it. I'm following you, and I'm
that's
like,
what it's.
Now
you
it makes
hit it
sense.
on the nose.
There you go. So besides grit, vision, and perseverance, all of which you have, what qualities do you believe are needed to succeed as an entrepreneur in addition to those?
Wow. Those are the ones.
Those are the ones. Okay. That's it. Next question.
No, but you have integrity there, right?
I wrote grit, vision, and perseverance, so I didn't have integrity.
Integrity is important. I'm proud to say that 98% of my business has been on a referral basis for the last decade.
That says a lot.
And I am an introvert, so I've never. But I will do what I have to do to be successful.
Yes.
And I've never been comfortable with saying, "Hey, here I am. Work with me."
Right.
What I can do is an excellent job for someone and allow that to be my calling card. And that has been something that's important for me. So no matter how small your project is, or whatever your area of expertise is, I don't care if you are cutting grass.
Right.
You make sure that you're the best grass cutter ever. You're making cupcakes and that's your business. You perfect your formula.
Yeah.
And that is really what it boils down to, because at the end of the day, the core of your business has to be great in order for you to stay in business. You have to be good.
Yeah.
And that's something you need to work towards. Everything else will fall into place.
Now, you've been in New York all of your life for the most part. Do you think you need additional attributes to succeed in the Big Apple, or it's just, the grit, the perseverance, the vision, the integrity?
That's really hard asking a New Yorker, because
I know, right?
I tell you, I love being a New Yorker.
Me too.
I have been all over
the
the
best
world.
city in the world ever.
We are the best city in the world ever. And I never forget, rest in peace, my Aunt Jackie, who was a very successful woman, passed away of an aneurysm at the age of 48 in 2012, and Vice President JP Morgan Chase. And my mentor, we were sitting in her car driving over the Brooklyn Bridge, and I remember the city lights, and she looked over my shoulder and said, "This is the best city on earth. Just look." And that memory, is always in my mind. And
special.
There's so much about New York, because if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
What they say.
And I think that I have friends who have since boo-hoo in the last year left in New York.
I mean,
and
it's a grind.
Trying to find their flow in their new cities and so forth. They realize that, being in New York, you're surrounded by so many brilliant, ambitious people and just characters of every age and walk of life. There's something that you can learn from, and that's the beauty of being a New Yorker.
I agree with you. I mean, it's almost like a love-hate relationship that I have. I love the people. I love the energy. I love the culture. I love the diversity. And then there are times when sitting in traffic or,
Don't let me, I can run down the list of things about New York. To be fair, it can be a bit stinky every other street you walk to.
Forget about it.
Good luck driving down 6th Avenue on your own or in a, like I learned how to drive. Driving down 6th Avenue, fighting with yellow cabs. Now it's the Ubers and so forth. And people are rude. And people are also lovely. On my way over here today, I almost had tears in my eyes. A woman who is homeless on the street. And I saw 2 New Yorkers literally stand up, ask how she was doing, embrace this woman who was homeless, dirty, hug her. Did you eat today? Coming up the street on Madison Avenue, I saw a woman with a carriage and another New Yorker stop to give this woman $10.
Wow.
And this is all on my way here. New Yorkers are some of the most beautiful people. And I do understand a lot of the aggression comes from stress.
It
and,
does.
You know, per square foot, there's a lot of people.
A lot of folks.
It's dense. So you run across different situations. So I try to smile and give sunshine to those who need it.
Thank you for doing so. Our ode to New York.
Yes.
So how important, is strategy, right? Is it possible to have the ambition and the vision, but not necessarily know how you're going to get to where you want to go?
Strategy is absolutely everything. Let me be clear. There are a lot of people, especially in this time of a low barrier to entry for many businesses, on so many levels. And I won't even go into that, with you can start an e-commerce business, you can get a certification here and there. You might have immediate success at anything. But for longevity, you need strategy.
Yes, for sure.
And there are folks who start things and it doesn't take off, and that requires persistence.
Yes.
You need to read books. You need to surround yourself with individuals who will inspire you. You need to open your circle. Strategy is very important. Have a plan. And if things aren't going well, you may have to consider that this isn't your thing.
Right.
You've just listened to part 1 of Forever Fab podcast. Please stay tuned for part 2, coming up next.